So first off, how are you? How's everything?
I'm doing pretty well. The season's back up and running, so excited and happy about that. Just saw the draws for qualifiers and things like that, so extremely excited to get things going and get the ball rolling and just getting back on the field. So yeah, I'm good and extremely excited.
Yeah, for sure. So how's quarantine treating you?
I think now it's better than it was before. There's a little more breathing room, so like we've been able to do a lot more like in training and stuff with my dad. So I mean, pretty much just training and being home.
You mentioned the draw. What are your thoughts on the Qatar 2022 draw that happened?
I'm extremely excited. We've been talking about it in the group chat since the draws come out. We were disappointed with how we performed in Nations League, so we want to go out there and put some results together so we can go in there and try to hopefully qualify for the World Cup, because that's the ultimate goal, to represent your country on the grandest stage. So we're getting ready. We're looking forward to that, and hopefully we're able to do something good there.
And one of the teams, what do you think about Belize first?
Belize, I've never played against them, so I honestly don't know much about them. But yeah, I mean, I'm just excited. To be honest, I don't. They can put U.S., Mexico, Panama, all those guys out there in front of us, and I'm gonna be excited and ready to play. So, yeah, I'm just happy that football is back, and I'm just gonna be able to represent my country.
St. Lucia.
St. Lucia, I think we've played them before. They got a couple of players that we're gonna have to worry about, but for the most part, we're not really worried about other teams. We're just trying to make sure that we get all our guys in healthy, and we're able to go out there and dominate the way we were able to dominate in Nations League and in the Gold Cup.
Turks and Caicos.
Same exact thing. I probably would say the only team that is constantly on our minds is Nicaragua, because we understand they knocked us out of Gold Cup, and then we beat them in the qualifying round, and then we beat them in Gold Cup. So we know that there's going to be targets on our back with them. But I think with the mindset is the same with every single team. We're going to go out there and play. We're going to play our game, and we're going to put them in a game that they don't want to play in. It's going to be uncomfortable for them, and we're going to go out there and try to get the best results we can so we can qualify for the World Cup.
Yeah, I leave Anna and Derek the last Nicaragua, because Derek scored 1 goal against Nicaragua.
Yeah. It was a great feeling to be able to go out there, especially like I said, after they eliminated us from the Gold Cup, the previous Gold Cup, not this one that we just came out of, but the one before that. So revenge was really on my mind, and I wanted to lead by example, because I was one of the players who was there in Nicaragua when we gave up our lead. So I tried the whole time to keep the group, and along with Nazon, Johnny Placide, and a lot of other guys, to make sure that we understood that this is going to be a very big game, because they feel that they have the upper hand because of the way the games went before. So I wanted to go out there and I got a goal, and then I got a goal in Gold Cup, but they wanted to give it a own goal. So I guess I owe them one more.
Okay. Okay. And what do you remember about that goal against Nicaragua? You won 2-0.
In Nicaragua?
Yeah.
I remember getting the ball and driving, and Nazon made a good run in behind. I played him, and then I just wanted to be some type of support, and he put a perfect ball in, and I was just able to head it home. Actually, my first professional goal with the head, so I was just extremely excited about that. But yeah, that's a goal that stands out for me, because we were able to actually qualify for a Gold Cup after that win.
Would you like to walk us through your 2018 U20 World Cup? Just starting with our tournament in Trinidad and Tobago, and how was that experience for you all?
Yeah, so in 2018, I was actually a young player on the U20s. So that was the first time being like really playing with them in a really big tournament. So it was just exciting to be there. And you know, my teammates we had a very good, strong team, and you know, the goal was to make history and make it to the World Cup. So every time we went into a game, you know, we had the chants and everything going on in the locker room, and we were very excited. So the training up to it was very intense. Of course, we had our moments when we're dancing and we're laughing, but you know, once we stepped on the field, we knew it was business. So we had like maybe 2 weeks prior where we got together and we did our training camp. And then as it got closer, you know, we started, like, I would say, leveling our training sessions, you know, preparing our bodies to play. And then before you know it, we were at game day, and you know, we were putting on a very good show. You know, we were performing well. We were, you know, getting results. Of course, we thought we were going straight through. When we played against US and we tied, went to PKs. You know, that was a very strong game for us. And that game actually taught us a lesson as well, because it taught us, you know, we need to work on our penalty kicks, and you know, we need to be efficient, because as much as we love the game, sometimes it's unpredictable, and you know, sometimes we might be going to penalty kicks. So that was something that we learned from that game. And then the next game, we were ready and our mind was set. Okay, now it's time to do whatever it takes to get to the next level. And of course, when we finally got to the third place match against Canada, that was the only thing in our mind. Like, we want to go to the World Cup, and it's now in our minds at the time. It's now or never. So you know, we put everything on the field. You know, there was situations. There was a red card in the previous game, so one of our center backs was out, so we had to adjust the lineup a little bit. So I was playing in the 6, and you know, the 6 was playing as center back, so it was a little different as well for some of the players who weren't used to necessarily being in certain positions and things of that nature. But you know, we said in our mind that this is a big game for us, and we took that to heart. So you know, we played our hearts out, and Aurelia plays the pass to Shelly Juddy, and she finishes it, and that was a magical moment for us. And when they blew that final whistle, it was just pure bliss for us. And that was probably one of the best experiences of just finally crossing the line and saying, guys, we did it. We're going to the World Cup. And the locker room was ridiculous after that. It was like 40 minutes of just singing and dancing and like just pure joy in the locker room. And then once we went back to the hotel, it was like, okay, now what's next? Because we got there. Now when we get there, what do we want to do? So it was definitely a great experience, and being able to say that we were the first women's team in Haiti to be able to make it to the U20 World Cup was a very big deal for us.
Typically, any Caribbean family is like really, really tight. Like in my case, I see Chris is on the call. I'm pretty sure as well. Very, very tight and very big at giving back, right? So what can you, if you want to talk a little bit about the Etienne legacy, you know, giving back to Haitian football, and then what?
Yeah. So my brother actually started the Etienne Family Foundation, and you know, that was actually like the formal version of, you know, giving back and things of that nature. But even before then, my dad and my uncle, they would always set up a trip to go back to Haiti, and they always bring. We had like our church. We would always organize like a backpack drive, so you get essentials in the backpacks and stuff like that. And you know, me and my brother, we would go to our teams and like ask for like old cleats, things like that, and soccer balls, things that they don't use anymore, but you know, are still in good shape, but we can send it over. And we would send them in huge droves. And you know, it's the exciting part is being able to see how they react when they receive these things, and you know, the videos, and you know, after they receive their pair of cleats, they're in the middle of the road dancing and like ready for a soccer ball now. So it's I think that's a very rewarding piece, is being able to say, you know, I played for my country, but at the end of the day, I can go home and give back to my country as well. And I think that's a very big, important part for us, because that was my grandfather's dream, and it still is his dream. And he just loves to see that his grandkids and his kids are giving back to where he came from. So it's definitely a big part of the Etienne, belief system is to give back to our country and give back to the community in general.
Just a brief background of what is it that you used to do. You were a referee, right? And very, very notable referee for the U.S. Soccer Federation. And if you want to just explain to us how you became a referee, right? What was that moment where you decided, oh, I'm going to become a referee?
Well, the moment was totally by accident. I mean, I said accident, it was playing in a game and breaking my tibia and fibia. So, here's a broken leg. And my professor at the university, Dr. Warder, who was a professor of mechanical engineering, he knew that I loved the game and I played the game, and I was also a coach. So he said, while you're recovering from your injury, you can help us out with refereeing because you can do, some of these youth games. And I said, great, I can do that. And that's how I got started, started with the youth matches, the U10s and U12s and all of that. And then, as I knew the game pretty well, I very quickly moved up doing, high school, college, majoring in soccer league, professional games, and all the way to international, and then, World Cup, Olympics, Gold Cup, all the good tournaments that there are there.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess the most appropriate question now to follow up is, how did you become a football lover, right? So when did this love for the game begin for USC?
Oh, from childhood, from a young age of 7, and watching games and playing in the streets. And, I was born in Tehran, Iran, and, the game is in our blood. And if you watch some of the derbies, the Clásicos, there's 100,000 people watching the matches. And I remember my very first World Cup, 1966 World Cup from England, to follow the game on the newspapers, watch it on television. When the movie Gold came, went to the movie theater, watched the game, and the game is in my blood. So from a very, very young age, and I was lucky that my cousin, who's a doctor at the time, he was in the medical school, he would go to the games, and my mother would allow me to go with him to watch the game. So I had a great mentor.
If there's a message that you can give to, those referees that are, just about to end their career and wanting to, give back to the game, such as you have for numerous number of years, what would this message be?
That we are no different than the coaches. We're like coaches who are players and they become coaches, and their celebration comes from the success of their team, their players. When their team wins, the coaches win. When the team is doing well, when the players are doing well, the coach wins. So that's all we have to do when we're instructing, when we are assessing, that we are totally 100% invested in the success of our referees. When they win, we win together. And the way they win is that we make sure that, they don't become a target. There is no scandals. There is no fiascos in the game. They go out there, protect the safety of the players. They don't change the result of the game one way or the other. If they make any mistakes, that the mistakes are minor. It's not a major decision, not a penalty that, decides the result of the game and things of that nature. So all of us instructors must be invested in the success of our players. Our players are referees in this situation, and we have to be really upfront with them. We have to be brutally honest. We have to have a very high standard of excellence. Keep them to that standard, because if you keep them to a very high standard of excellence, if they drop just a little bit shy of it, then we still have a good product. So never compromise when it comes to quality.
So we have a special guest coming in. Hopefully she's in the queue. Let's see, I'm pressing joining.
Hello, Lindsey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. We're just talking about with Essie how, the game has progressed with his, I don't know how many World Cups he's been to. So yeah, Essie, what's that back there? I know that you have like this entire collection of medals and like just accolades of everything you've done. And
yeah, the picture is from the Atlanta Olympics. I was telling you about the semifinal match between Argentina and Portugal, and then everything else behind is the medals from the different World Cups that we have been to, I have been to either as a referee or as an instructor. So there's 33 medals out there altogether. And those are, the 5 of them from the Men's World Cup, and then the last one from the Women's World Cup in France, where Lindsey became world champion. And it is wonderful to see her because our home here is right across from her home on the other side of the street.
Yeah.
So I used to come home and I see this young lady in the driveway, and she'd be kicking the ball against the wall by the garage. So there's the garage, and then there's a wall there. And she'd be out there all day kicking that ball against the wall. One touch, one touch, one touch, one touch. And I always told my wife, I said, she will be awesome because she does it on her own. Everything comes from within. Everything comes from, inner desire to succeed. And I can't be more proud to see where she's at.
Oh, thank you for saying that. I was probably annoying all my neighbors kicking the ball against the wall.
Oh, because and played in the streets all the time. The ball ended up in people's yards and their backyards. Yeah. And they had walls, so we had to either knock on the door or ring the bell, and then they would send the ball back. And after a while, those balls came back flat because they put a knife into it, and they said, "Here, no more." So I really appreciated what you were doing, and I enjoyed it.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so Lindsey, welcome to Football Talks. As you may know, we basically bring on, personalities from our region just to, interview them and tell their stories. So when we found out that you two were neighbors, it was like, oh my gosh, we have to get them on, right? So Lindsey, do you have any, anecdotes or like stories such as the one that Essie just told you about your experience as being neighbors?
I do remember I was so young, but I remember one time, I don't know if I accidentally kicked my ball over towards Essie's house or what, but we ended up having a conversation, and I can't remember exactly what he had said to me, but he gave me a pointer on something, and I was just like, that is so cool. And he didn't even say, what he did, look at all of the accolades he has behind him, which is kind of the coolest thing, is like, he's kind of a superstar in the soccer world as well. And I love when, you can just kind of have a conversation with someone and they don't need to go on and tell you everything they've done. And so I remember us having, again, I was so young. I remember us having a few little moments shared, in our front yards. And I honestly didn't know all this information until later on that people had told me. And some of our neighbors had told me, and I had actually heard it from someone else. And I was like, are you kidding me? He didn't tell me that he was in this World Cup? Or I'm like, why didn't he say anything? I would have been like starstruck. But again, I think that's, the epitome of him. And just something cool that I really appreciate in sports, because no one likes that person that goes around boasting about everything. And he wasn't like that. So I think that's awesome. And yeah, again, we shared a few, I think he shared a few hints and tips for me. So that was nice of him.
It was a very surreal experience, I think. The first round was probably the most peculiar first round I've ever been involved in
probably
any
in Gold
tournament.
Cup history. Probably in Gold Cup history, yeah.
Yeah, probably. Every game finished in a draw. It was decided on a coin toss. I mean, I've never had that experience in my life, but I still remember standing in the back of the tent that was set up beside the stadium, and Holger Osiek, our head coach, was at the front doing the coin toss, and all of us were at the back, and Holger just looked down at the coin, looked back at us, gave a thumbs up, and we just went nuts, and we were through. And then we realized, we're through the knockout stage, a big slice of good fortune. But from that point onwards, the knockout stage onwards, it was like a snowball going down the side of a mountain. By the time we got to the final, it almost felt like we were unstoppable. And I remember before the game saying to the guys in the dressing room, like, we've got nothing to be afraid of. Let's just go out and play and just have fun. You know, we're playing against Colombia. We're the last team from Concacaf, so we knew we'd already qualified for the Confederations Cup the following year. And we went out and played with freedom, and it was the most enjoyable game in a national team jersey I think I've ever had. And when the final whistle went, it was pandemonium. It was a pretty surreal experience in the final for sure.
Yeah, very, very bizarre. And I think through 2002, I wasn't a part of that team. I was going through some illnesses, but I think we had to draw straws to get out of that one.
Yeah.
That was a three-way tie. So yeah, it was really bizarre. We were at the game. We'd already played both our games, and Costa Rica and South Korea were playing each other. And then we're watching this thinking, hold on a minute, like everything is tied. Goals for, goals against, head-to-head, everything. So we're hearing there's going to potentially be a coin toss, and that was the case. I think it was initially thought of that they were going to do it behind closed doors, and Jack was like, not a chance we're doing that. He was hovering right over top of them, making sure there was no shenanigans, which there wasn't. And and he just put his hand up and went, we won the quarterfinals.
Yeah, just to add to that, I mean, I remember us standing at the back of the tent, and Jason, if you recall, I remember us saying, you know, it's, and no disrespect to our country, and we love everybody that supported us and were with us. We thought, thank God it's not a Canadian taking the coin toss, because we'd probably lose. And because Holger was taking the coin toss, we win. We moved forward, and like Jason said, it was just almost like a train taken off from a station, and basically we knew that it was going to take something special to stop us. And even that Trinidad game, which probably ended up being our toughest game, and at that time they had some very good players playing abroad, and we found a way to get a result. And I mean, it was unbelievable. And the biggest thing I think I take from that team was definitely the camaraderie. Everybody was involved in everything we did.
The history has shown us that the U.S. and Mexico really have been the yardstick for everybody to reach, to try to be competitive in the Gold Cup and CONCACAF. And for us to do that, it was difficult. Obviously, the talent too was high because of the invitational teams. South Korea, Colombia, Peru were in that tournament as well. So it was a high standard. We, as a nation, have struggled to score goals most of the time. Defended pretty well. We were a pretty good unit that way. We would compete, but we would really struggle to put any kind of length or string of games together that would be competitive enough to win a tournament. And we have struggled since then as well. But the stars seem to align from really the opening games to the coin toss. Didn't play particularly well against Trinidad in the semifinal, but we managed to score on our one or two opportunities that we created. Against Colombia, I thought was our best performance of the tournament by quite a stretch. And I think it just worked out well. The rain, the wet surface, I think the Colombians struggled with that. The pace of the ball and the surface early on, we were quite comfortable. A lot of people on our team were playing in Canada and Europe and used to wet conditions. So everything just seemed to work out really well. The stars aligned. We had a terrific group of players that would show up, win, lose, or draw, and we never really felt we would probably do something so special.
I think it was Duisburg. Is that where we went with Holger the very first training camp? I think it started there, because I think he brought in a mentality that, and again, no disrespect to the forefathers, but he brought in a mentality that we had never had. So when we had like a German like Holger come in and implement this from the very first start, when we went to Duisburg, you kind of knew there was a shifting of the guard. There was a change in mentality. There was a belief in what he was doing, and everybody was buying in. So I take it back to there. And then in the tournament, for sure, I think when we, and it'll kind of sound funny, but I think it was the very first game, because every other time we'd played against a very good CONCACAF team going down, we found a way to beat ourselves or not capitalize on a few situations. But in that game, somehow we managed to get a 2-2 draw. And I think from that point on, we believed, you know what, we could probably do something here. And then, of course, the Mexico result created a bit of more resolve and belief, and then it just kept going from there.
And that was a tall task. I mean, if you look at that squad of players, most of us, aside from Carlo, Paul Pescasolido, one or two others. Most of us played in a defensive role at our club around the world, whether we're playing in Europe or in North America. So we were a team that was very, very well organized defensively. But we knew that we couldn't go toe-to-toe with Mexico from an attacking perspective. So we went into the game with a very clear game plan. And we conceded the first goal, but we never came out of our shell. We sort of played the wait-and-see game. And then when Carlo equalized, was it the 82nd minute, I think, Carlo?
83rd. 82nd or 83rd.
I think the Mexicans were just stunned. This wasn't the script that they were used to.
No. And they were expecting us to just fold up tent and go home, right?
Yeah. Or even worse in many respects, chase them and go after them. And I remember losing my voice screaming at Carlo to drop and try and stay as compact as we could, because we knew that if we were difficult to play through, there wasn't enough space behind for them to go over us. And we knew we were in the fight, and so we managed to stick to that game plan. And then obviously we equalized. It went to sudden death, and the goal. It was not a classic by any means. It was a classic counter-attacking move. Not a great finish from Richie Hastings, but it doesn't matter. It hit the back of the net, and it'll always be the greatest goal of his career. And I think the belief started to grow. You know, when you beat a team like Mexico, who is as strong as they are and have been for many, many years, the belief starts to grow within the camp. And in the semifinal, as Carlos said, we found a way to win. Forrest was unbelievable in goal.
Yeah.
I mean, throughout the whole tournament, he was just incredible against Trinidad. And we managed to squeak a goal at the other end and hang on for victory. So, as fairy tale stories are written, you wouldn't have scripted this one, because I don't think anyone would have believed it at the start of the tournament.
It's not lost on me, for sure. I know the power, the strength, the ability of the Mexican players. I always love playing against the Mexicans, their tactical awareness, their game management. To be able to beat them and compete was really pleasing. So at that moment, I didn't really think much about it other than trying to figure out a way to get the best of the player. Carlo played with that particular player in England, and he ran in and gave me some advice. He said,
"Okay."
I think he said he'll go to your left every single time, and so I went to my right and saved it. Well, and then see the thing with that is that obviously the player, I can't remember his name, who was taking it, who Carlo knew. Now all of a sudden he knows that Carlo's told him I go one way all the time. So now I'm going through. Now it's a mind game thing. So so a lot of people are like, yeah, Carlo Corazzin must have gave you some great advice. And I said, the way he did, he absolutely did. Though it all worked out okay.
What do you recall about the final against Colombia and the way Canada played in that match?
Yeah, I said earlier, I think it's the best match we've ever played, certainly in my time on the field. And I just look back on it as being one of freedom and free flowing, and we didn't have a care in the world. We just played with an openness that I don't know that we've ever really had to that point. So, I look at, we remember looking across the tunnel at them as we're walking out. It wasn't a nice day. It wasn't hot. It was raining. It was miserable. There were about maybe 6,000 people, and I think 5,500 of that was your family, Carlo, in the stadium. So, their motivation, they were probably looking across thinking, this is like a training match for us. Why are we here? What are we doing? So, they were less than inspired, I think. But, we took advantage of that, and ultimately, you still have to do the job. You still have to win the game. You still have to win your individual battles and play as a unit. And we did that on the day. So, we came away, I feel, deserved winners on the day. And the celebrations afterwards were something we'd never experienced before.
Every single professional, I believe this deep down to my core, never steps on a field to not win, because Colombia did. But deep down in their heart, they were an invitee. There was really nothing there of substance for them except to say that they went in and won a Concacaf tournament that they were invited to. So I'm not saying that they didn't try. I'm not saying, but if you put together, again, the game plan that we stuck to, we stymied them. Again, Greg Forrest stood on his head, stopped the penalty. But we just played as a unit. By this time, it was, as I had mentioned to you, those foundations that Holger had put in, by this time it was like we knew where everybody was in every situation. There was no hesitancy. There was nothing like that. It was just free flowing. Like Jason said, I think it was the best, and on the other side, the most comfortable I felt in an international game.